My grandpa saved $50,000 for my education, but my parents spent it on my sister's sweet 16 and a luxury trip. I, 25F, have been working at an architecture business for the past 2 years, and I need to discuss something that has been eating me alive. Familial favoritism. Not just slight biases, but overt, obvious favoritism that has influenced my entire life. Let me clarify. My parents treat my younger sister, Sophia, 18F, as if she is the center of the universe, while I might as well be invisible. Have you seen the memes about the golden child versus the scapegoat? That's my life, detailed in agonizing detail. Growing up, every birthday became a reminder of this reality. On my 16th birthday, I received a used laptop that could only run basic applications. Sophia's Sweet 16 celebration included a full venue rental, a live band, and even a professional photographer. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. I've always been drawn to architecture. Even as a child, I would spend hours with my construction blocks, constructing complicated structures as my parents admired Sophia's bizarre dancing movements in the living room. "Look how naturally talented she is," they'd exclaim, while my meticulously crafted structures were tossed aside without a glance. This pattern persisted through our lives. When I was in college, I took first prize in a major architectural design competition. It was a breakthrough moment in my career, the kind of triumph that leads to new opportunities. I alerted my parents about the awards event several weeks in advance, believing that this time would be different. My mother casually stated to me the morning before the ceremony that they would be unable to attend. "We have errands to run," she added, barely looking up from her phone, which was probably showing Sophia's most recent Instagram photos. I ended up asking my friend's mother to snap photos, holding back tears as I got my prize in front of a crowd of ecstatic parents. Sophia signed up for a high school dancing competition 3 months later. My parents were overjoyed when she came in second place, not first. They gave her flowers, took her out to a lavish supper, and documented everything on every social media outlet they could find. "Our talented daughter is following her dreams," they wrote. I sat at that supper, pushing food around my plate, wondering why her dreams were so much more valuable than mine. The instances are numerous. When my outdated phone eventually died, it was so old that the screen would randomly go black. I had to work additional shifts at my part-time job to save enough money for a replacement. Sophia expressed wanting the latest iPhone, and they got it for her that weekend. "She needs it for her social media presence," my mother said, as if that justified everything. But the true difference was in how they handled our mistakes. I once forgot to take out the garbage after working all night on a project. My father lectured me for 45 minutes about responsibility and how I needed to grow up and contribute to the home. But what happened when Sophia backed into our mailbox before she even had her license? They laughed it off. "Oh, everyone makes mistakes when they're learning." It cost $300 to replace the mailbox. My grandfather was not like others. He was my light of hope in this sea of favoritism. While my parents were preoccupied with Sophia's latest social media follower count, Grandpa would sit with me in his study and review my architectural sketches. He wasn't very knowledgeable about modern design ideas, but he understood passion. "One day," he said, his eyes gleaming, "I'll see your buildings on postcards, and I'll buy every single one of them." As I grew older, I spent more time at my grandparents' house. It was the only location where I could breathe freely and not have my accomplishments eclipsed by whatever Sophia had done that day. Grandma would bake cookies while Grandpa worked on my college applications. They were the first to actually notice me. When I was 22 and working my first job at an architecture firm, Grandpa summoned me for a serious chat. He brought me down in his study, the same space where he'd fostered my goals for years, and informed me that he was launching a college fund for my graduate education. He was painfully honest. "I know your parents won't prioritize this, sweetie. They have their favorites, and it's not fair. But I want you to have your shot." The money was large, totaling $55,000. It was enough to give me a legitimate opportunity to pursue my master's degree without drowning in debt. When my parents found out, they barely responded. "What about Sophia? She had an amazing tantrum. Why doesn't Grandpa love me as much?" she cried. My parents spent hours comforting her, assuring her she was just as important and adored. Meanwhile, I stood in the corner, convinced that I couldn't have this one item without it becoming about her. Working for an architecture firm has been my escape. I've pushed myself into my tasks, working late at the workplace and taking on extra responsibilities. My colleagues value my effort and attention to detail. Last month, I was even able to present one of my ideas to a significant client. The firm's partners were impressed. But when I sought to share this information with my parents, "That's nice, honey, but did you hear about Sophia's TikTok going viral?" Then everything changed. My grandparents died within months of one another. First Grandpa, then Grandma, as if they couldn't take being apart. Losing them devastated me. They were my support system, my cheerleaders, and the only people who treated me like I was important. In the midst of my sadness, I had to manage the duties they had left behind. They were highly structured, with everything clearly spelled out in their will. They left me their humble home, filled with memories and love. Then there was the college fund, Grandpa's pride and delight. I had not touched it yet, thanks to my work savings. But as graduate school applications approached, I decided to check the account. Late one night, after a particularly hard day at work, I went in to check the balance. The numbers on the screen caused my heart to stop. Instead of $55,000, there was just $5,000 remaining. I blinked. We refreshed the page, logged out and back in. The number did not change. The next morning, I went to the bank in person, trying to remain calm while I inquired about the transaction history. That's when the truth was revealed. My parents, named as secondary beneficiaries, had been steadily depleting the account for the past year. I called my mother that evening, my hands shaking as I gripped the phone. "Hey, I was checking Grandpa's college fund, and most of the money's gone. Do you know what happened?" There was a long delay before she spoke, her tone immediately defensive. "What do you mean it's gone? Are you sure you're looking at the right account?" When I told her I'd been to the bank and knew the money had been withdrawn, she abandoned the act. "We used it for Sophia's sweet 16, she explained, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I felt like I had been hit in the stomach. "You spent $50,000 on a birthday party?" "It wasn't just the party," she said, as if that made things better. "There were a lot of expenses, the venue, the catering, the decorations. Plus, we got her a car." Then came the kicker. They had also used the money to take Sophia on a 2-week family trip to Europe. I wasn't even told about the family vacation, let alone invited. When I explained that the money was intended for my education, my mother sighed, as if I was being difficult. "You didn't need that money anymore. You have a job, remember? Sweet 16 only happens once." We wanted to make it special for her. I hung up the phone with my entire body numb. That night, I sat in the living room of the house my grandparents had left for me, surrounded by images and memories. It seemed like a betrayal of all they had worked for and believed in. After days of internal deliberation, I came to a decision. I hired an attorney. This is not about money anymore. It's about respect. About advocating for myself. Regarding respecting my grandparents' desires. When my parents received the documents, all hell broke out. My mother called within hours, shouting about how I was ripping the family apart. "Do you know how this makes us look?" she insisted. My reply was straightforward. "You should have thought about that before stealing $50,000. "It wasn't stealing," she exclaimed. "It was for the family." I advised her to contact my lawyer and hung up. The fallout was immediate. My extended family found out, of course, my mother couldn't keep it a secret, and I became public enemy number one. My aunt called to lecture me on family loyalty. My aunt told me, "You need to think about what you're doing to your mother." But I'm done thinking about everybody else. For once in my life, I'm thinking about myself. My lawyer thinks this will not be a simple process, but I am ready. My grandparents believed in me. I believed in my dreams. I refuse to let their final gift to me be spent on a sweet 16 celebration and a car Sophia has probably already wrecked. I will keep you updated as things progress. If anyone has dealt with toxic family dynamics like this, I'd love to learn how they addressed it. Sometimes I question whether I'm doing the right thing. But then I remember my grandfather's expression when he told me about the college fund, and how delighted he was to be able to help me pursue my aspirations. I will not let them take it away. Update 1. Hi, Reddit. First and foremost, I'd like to express my gratitude for your responses to my last post. Some of you really helped me realize that sticking up for myself wasn't just okay, it was important. Here's what's transpired in the 2 months since I filed legal action. The legal proceedings have been exhausting. My parents first tried to drag things out by ignoring our letters and missed deadlines. Their initial answer, through their lawyer, was almost comical. They stated that the money was a family resource and that Grandpa had vocally changed his mind before dying. When we inquired for documentation of this alleged amendment, they couldn't recall exactly when or where the conversation took place. During our first mediation session, my parents took a different approach. Dad stated they had invested the money in my future, claiming Sophia's social media presence would someday benefit the entire family. He genuinely said, with a straight face, "She's going to be an influencer, and then she can help pay for your education." The mediator's look was priceless. The real shock occurred when we uncovered more withdrawals that they had not communicated. In addition to the Sweet 16 celebration, the car, and the European holiday, they had spent thousands of dollars on a private dance instructor to help Sophia advance her career. They'd paid for a costly social media marketing course, many professional photo sessions for her Instagram, and a full gaming setup for her aspiring streaming career. My lawyer was ecstatic with these discoveries. Apparently, tracking such needless expenses strengthens our case. When confronted with these expenses, my mother attempted to justify them as investments in Sophia's future. She even brought spreadsheets to our next meeting, hoping to demonstrate how an influencer career could provide a significant family income. The judge was unimpressed, especially when my lawyer showed out that Sophia's social media following was primarily acquired through paid marketing. Using more of my college fund money. The family dynamic has shifted. Most families initially supported my parents. However, as more information became available, some people began to shift their perspective. My cousin Julia, 32F, called me privately and said she'd seen similar partiality at family gatherings for years but never had the nerve to speak up. She's now one of my most ardent advocates, willing to testify about particular occurrences she's witnessed over the years. My Aunt Margaret, who had first lectured me on family loyalty, became strangely silent after seeing the bank statements. Mom had brought them to a family meeting with the intention of getting approval for their side of the tale, but it backfired catastrophically. The statements included not only the significant expenses, but also dozens of minor withdrawals for things like social media consultancy and brand building seminars. Last week, Margaret sent me a quick text. "Your grandpa would be proud of you standing up for yourself." Coming from her, it meant everything. Sophia's behavior has undergone the most dramatic changes. When she realized her automobile could be seized as part of the settlement, she launched a massive social media campaign against me. Her heartfelt claims about her nasty sister and how I was wrecking the family out of envy backfired swiftly. Her followers began to question her perspective, especially after she moaned about possibly losing her European summer holiday plans. Many of them had part-time jobs to pay for their textbooks. Her most recent outburst occurred when she realized she might need to obtain a job. She posted a 20-minute diatribe on how unfair it was that she might have to work in retail or food service like any other person. The comment section rapidly turned against her, with many pointing out how out of touch she seemed. She's losing followers on a regular basis, and her attempts to present herself as the victim have just exacerbated the situation. The actual wake-up call for her came last week, when she received her college admission letter. Instead of the customary festivities, there was panic throughout the house. My parents committed to pay for her entire education, but they are currently suffering major financial difficulties. Their savings have been exhausted due to legal bills and a potential settlement. Sophia's dream school is suddenly less guaranteed, and for the first time, she is confronted with the implications of their collective decisions. Meanwhile, my career has become my haven. My firm's partners have been really helpful, particularly after I informed them that I may want some flexibility for court dates. One of them approached me and related her own story of family financial abuse. She has become something of a mentor to me, guiding me through both professional and personal obstacles. Last month, she even assigned me to oversee a key project, indicating that she believes in my talents despite my ongoing personal troubles. The most reassuring event occurred during a heated phone conversation with my folks last week. My mother began her typical guilt trip about family loyalty, but this time, I found my voice. When she started talking about how families should help each other, I politely asked her, "Where was this concern for your family when you spent my education fund on Instagram photo shoots and social media courses?" The line became silent. Then she hung up. An hour later, my father called back with an entirely different tone. For the first time, he seemed dejected. "Their lawyer phoned mine yesterday, saying we might be able to reach an agreement." The judge's first remarks regarding their breach of fiduciary duty appear to have finally struck home, particularly when he referenced potential punitive damages. My folks are beginning to understand that this will not go away with a few sad phone calls or guilt trips. The entire experience has been transformational. Standing up to them was daunting at first, but each small success has made me stronger. I am no longer the silent daughter who absorbs whatever attention they decide to offer me. I'm a professional lady battling for what is rightfully mine. And I'm winning. Not just in court, but in real life. Watching Sophia deal with real-world consequences has been eye-opening. She had to cancel her summer travel plans, and there is real talk that she will attend community college rather than her ideal university. She stopped writing about me on social media once her fans began to doubt her viewpoint. Some of her acquaintances have even contacted me personally, saying that my stance against family financial exploitation has helped them think about their own family problems. One of them even called me inspirational. Imagine the scapegoat daughter becoming an inspiration. The most recent development occurred when my parents attempted one more manipulation effort. They arrived at my office unannounced, believing they could press me in person. They didn't anticipate my entire squad to rally around me. My mentor stepped in, politely but firmly, ushering them out and telling them that any communication should go through our lawyers. It was fantastic to see their power over me dissolve in real time. I'll provide an update once we've reached an agreement or if anything significant changes. Thank you all for your encouragement and wisdom. Thank you to everyone who shared their own experiences with standing up to toxic family members. You helped me find my voice when I needed it the most. My grandfather used to say, sometimes the hardest battles are the ones most worth fighting. Update 2. After 6 months of intensive legal battles, I am finally able to reveal the outcome. For anyone curious about the outcome of the litigation, brace up, for karma has finally caught up with my family. The settlement negotiations were severe. My parents first claimed poverty, but their social media activities exposed them. Despite claiming financial distress, my mother continued to post about weekend spa getaways and fancy purchases. When my team submitted these posts to their lawyer during mediation, he visibly shuddered. Our forensic accountant made a surprising discovery, which marked a turning point. In addition to the expenses we already knew about, my parents had started depositing money into Sophia's social network investing account. They had recruited several influencer coaches and even put down a deposit on a content creation house, all using my college fund. The judge's response was noteworthy. This isn't investing in a child's future. This is gambling with someone else's inheritance. The final settlement exceeded our first expectations. My parents had to liquidate various assets, including their vacation timeshare and investment properties we had no idea existed. Sophia's car, the one they purchased with my money, had to be sold. What's with the irony? She had barely driven it and preferred to be ferried about by our parents. What about luxury shopping sprees and European vacations? Gone. She now works at a neighborhood coffee shop, which is her first actual job at the age of 18. The transformation has been astonishing. Initially, she returned home lamenting over having to wear a uniform and deal with tough customers. But something unexpected happened. She's genuinely maturing. She paid her first student loan payment last week and posted about it. There were no tears. There's no drama. Just a simple acknowledgement that she is learning to stand on her own 2 feet. My parents' changes have been even more dramatic. The illusion of a beautiful family life, which they had cultivated for years, has crumbled. My mother's social media accounts, which were formerly loaded with beautifully managed family images and uplifting words about unconditional love, have gone silent. Dad stopped making excuses for their actions and recently sent me an email, our first true conversation in months. In his email, he revealed something I never expected to hear. We failed you as parents. We got so caught up in making Sophia the star of our family that we forgot you were shining in your own way. He started having seen my name in an architectural magazine. I had recently won an award for an innovative ecological design project, and he stated he finally saw what my grandfather had always seen in me. My career provided the most rewarding growth opportunities. The sustainable design initiative that drew my father's interest has opened up great opportunities. 3 major corporations have approached me with job offers, and my current employer has reacted with a promotion and a significant raise. The partners even mentioned fast-tracking me for a junior partner position, which typically takes at least another 5 years. The compensation money has now arrived, and I have invested it just as my grandfather would have wished. I'll begin my master's degree in sustainable architecture next year, and I've set aside some money to establish a small scholarship for students in financial need. It feels good to transform this awful experience into something that can benefit others. Sophia and I had our first actual talk last week. She arrived at my house after her job at the coffee shop, still dressed in her uniform, looking fatigued but more sincere than I'd ever seen her. I get it now, she remarked. Why do you fight so hard? It wasn't about the money. It was about being seen. We are not best friends, and perhaps we never will be. However, we have reached a new understanding. The most difficult thing has been witnessing my parents endure the community's censure. Their social circle has dwindled significantly since the truth was out. Several family friends have discreetly contacted me, relaying similar accounts of observing their favoritism over the years but never saying anything. My Aunt Margaret has unexpectedly become an ally, checking in on me on a regular basis and even assisting me with my graduate school application. Looking back, this journey was much more than just reclaiming stolen funds. It's been about breaking free from destructive familial patterns and discovering my own value. The house my grandparents left me has become my sanctuary, complete with architectural sketches and future ideas. I've converted their old study into my design studio, with my drafting table set up precisely where Grandpa used to sit and encourage my dreams. Sometimes, while I'm working late at night on my designs, I sense their presence and know they'd be proud of the lady I've become. The most significant difference has been in how I perceive myself. I am no longer the family's scapegoat or invisible daughter. I'm a successful architect, a potential graduate student, and someone who has the bravery to advocate for what is right. Last week, I presented a large sustainable housing project before the municipal council. Watching those seasoned architects and developers lean forward in their seats, truly interested in my ideas, was an experience that no amount of family approval could match. The familial dynamic that previously smothered me no longer has any hold on me. My folks are embarking on their own journey of atonement. Mom has started treatment, which she previously regarded as unnecessary. Her therapist assisted her in seeing tendencies from her own past that contributed to her bias. Dad is striving to re-establish relationships with family members who have distanced themselves owing to his enabling conduct. During our last family reunion, he actually stood up to his sister when she tried to make excuses for their previous actions. They have a long way to go, but at least they are admitting their mistakes. Sophia's transformation continues to amaze me. She's been promoted to shift supervisor at the coffee shop and is attending community college. Her social media presence now reflects a very different person, one who is discovering the importance of hard effort and genuine accomplishment. She's even created a small study club to help other working students reconcile work and education. Last week, she thanked me. "You taught me that real respect isn't about being given everything," she told me. "It's about earning your own way." The entitled youngster who used to throw tantrums over Instagram likes has matured into someone who recognizes the worth of actual achievement. To the Reddit community, your support has been vital throughout this trip. Every comment, letter, and shared story gave me the strength I needed when I was doubting myself. The reactions to my initial post made me realize how many other people have had similar issues with family financial abuse. You taught me that standing up for yourself does not make you selfish or ungrateful. Rather, it makes you powerful. Special thanks to everyone who shared their own experiences with family financial abuse and toxic dynamics. Your courage impressed me. When my grandfather established the college fund, he wanted to invest in my future. Ultimately, he offered me something far more significant than money. He taught me that I was worth fighting for. He showed me that dreams are more than simply wishful thinking. They are objectives that should be pursued with everything you have. That lesson has been worth every difficult moment on this path. For anyone out there dealing with similar family situations, remember, you deserve to be recognized, acknowledged, and your dreams taken seriously. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise, even if they are family. Sometimes the most difficult battles are fought against people who should have been your staunch supporters. But those struggles shape who you are. The legal victory was only the beginning. I've begun helping other young architects at my business, particularly those dealing with financial or family issues. It feels natural to pass on the kind of support that my grandfather offered me. Next month, I'll be speaking at a professional conference on sustainable urban development, which I would never have done before. As I prepare to begin my master's program, I carry my grandfather's comments near to heart. One day, I'll see your buildings on postcards. I may have lost the money once, but I gained something far more valuable, the courage to shape my own destiny on my own terms. Every blueprint I draw, every design I develop, is a reflection of his faith in me. Thank you, Reddit, for being a part of my quest to reclaim what was properly mine. Not just money, but also my self-worth. Your intervention has transformed a story of familial betrayal into one of personal victory. I hope that my story can inspire others to have the strength to stand up for themselves and their aspirations. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.